Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the NCGA FMC Ag Weather Outlook for September 19th, 2015. I hope everybody's having a good week. You know, we had some disruptive rainfall over parts of the Corn Belt a few days of the week. Otherwise, we've been in pretty good harvest type conditions, and I think I have a good forecast for you as we get into the peak of harvest season. Let's take a look at the number of rain days over the last 7 days. This ends on the 17th. You can see a lot of brown, and that's indicating quiet conditions, but there were some areas, especially over south central Minnesota and up around the Chicago area, far northern and northeast Illinois, far north Indiana, where there was a bit more rain days. And we'll take a look here at where the rain fell. This is over the last 7 days, so still most of the Corn Belt very quiet conditions. And like I said last week, there will be a small area with more extensive rainfall, and that's that area in yellow. That's over 2 inches, and even some pockets nearing 4 inches in some very limited and very small areas. So there are going to be some localized impacts due to wet soils in these areas, especially the darker shades of brown and these little dots of red. The areas in yellow, not so much so, but still some limited issues in these regions here. Everywhere else has been a very quiet week. If you look at most of Missouri, with the exception of around Kansas City, most of the Dakotas and Nebraska, southern Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, Kentucky, very quiet weather in those areas. So when we look at the departure from normal over the last 7 days, I think this shows it actually a little bit better. If you look at this area in blue, that's saying 2 inches or more precipitation than would normally occur during this week. That area of dark purple or dark blue, that's 3 inches, and if you look closely, you'll see some dots of purple, and that's 4 inches. So those are the areas where there are going to be some localized problems, these little patches of the darker blue, maybe even in some of the lighter blue, but that's a very small overall area in the entire Corn Belt. But if you're in this area right here, these areas, there could be some localized issues of wet soils into the early part, middle part of this week. Now, as this cold front went through and over much of the region, we're going to have some strong northwest winds, some cooler temperatures this week, early this week. But you can see there was some severe weather, and that's typical. As we get into some of the more vigorous systems of very late summer and fall, we do have a chance of some severe weather. We're really not in that quite yet. Now, that's going to be a little bit later, and I'll be talking about that as we really start to have late fall type systems. We get more energy in the atmosphere. So this wasn't really that, but there was enough energy to produce some severe weather. Blue is wind reports. The green are hail reports, and even some tornadoes. There was some wind shear, and you can see just south of Chicago, south of Kansas City, some reports of some, generally speaking, weak type tornadoes. Now, temperatures last week, above normal temperatures over the central and western Corn Belt, and then over the eastern Corn Belt, just a bit below normal temperatures. Look at the southeast U.S., well below normal temperatures. Blue and purple are below normal. Red and yellow are above normal. But that's changed. The cold front has pushed through, and temperatures are quite a bit cooler as we go through the rest of the weekend into early in the week. Now, soil moisture for the most part, I see some pockets of a little bit dry, which is yellow, a little bit wet, which is light green. But really, overall, soil moisture is fairly close to normal, with the exception, again, is right in this region right here. And then this localized area that's probably not showing up on this image yet, but sort of right in here, that area I described from the rain we had over just the last couple of days. Everywhere else is pretty close to normal. So as we get into the peak of harvest time, most areas are in pretty good shape as far as soil moisture getting into the fields, but there are some pockets here of still some excess soil moisture. Okay, now I mentioned I had some positive news as far as going through the next number of weeks here, and that is that after this early push of some cooler air, it looks fairly quiet, and it looks a bit below normal precipitation, above normal temperatures. That doesn't mean it's going to be that way the entire time, but that's the overall theme. So here's this week's pattern. This is the average. So we see, generally speaking, the jet stream near to a little bit above normal. So once we get some cooler air in, it looks like it will begin to moderate quite quickly. Matter of fact, by Thursday of this week, you can see we still have 80-degree temperatures over the southern tier of the region, the Corn Belt, and then tapering back to the 60s. So you can see the warm air is already starting to creep back in from the south later this week. But when we look at the entire week, here are your temperature anomalies. Most of the region will be cooler than normal for the average, with the exception of the upper Midwest, and that's going to average above normal. Okay, now let's get into the latter next couple weeks here after this week. This is the 24th through 29th. Look at this. The jet stream, these areas of brown are indicating the jet stream is pushing north, a bit further north than normal. And when we see that, the energy is also further north than normal, and temperatures are generally speaking warmer than normal. And that's what we see the 24th to the 29th, mainly over the central and eastern Corn Belt, above normal temperatures. Not excessively so in most regions. We're looking at 2 to 4 degrees. Eastern Corn Belt, close to normal temperatures. Let's look a little bit further out, the 29th through October 4th. Very little change in this pattern. Now, I do think there are going to be a couple of little impulses embedded in here. I do think we're going to see some weak disturbances, so this does not mean we're not going to get any rain. These are some weak disturbances, but I don't see anything real significant nor real widespread. I also see the jet stream a little bit further north than normal, so again, we're looking at widespread regions of near to above normal temperatures. Once we rebound from this cool weather early this week, it looks like the next pattern of near or above normal temperatures is going to continue right into early October. Okay, so that's temperatures. Let's look at precipitation. Well, here's the precipitation this week, and with the exception of northern Minnesota and far northern Wisconsin, generally out of our region that we're looking at, it looks like everywhere else is going to be fairly quiet. Most of the region, no rain at all of significance over most of the Corn Belt. So a very quiet week with just some dots of some precipitation here and there. And on the regions it does look like it'll fall, I think it is not going to cause too much of a problem. So a pretty quiet week overall. Thus, we look at changes in soil moisture. We look at drying, and those two regions I told you we want to watch here, and then a couple little stripes right in here, you can see soils do dry. So I do think we're going to see some improvement in areas that have been wet, and then where it's going to be wet this week, I really don't see anything all that significant as far as causing delays into getting into the field. Okay, so let's look at the precipitation anomalies for the next 4 weeks, which has taken us through a good part of the harvest season. Here's week 1, widespread below normal precipitation, that's in yellow. Week 2, fairly uneventful. Now, when I say fairly uneventful, this doesn't mean we aren't going to have some precipitation somewhere and perhaps even some heavy pockets, but I don't see any widespread heavy rain, disruptive rain at this time. Week 3, fairly close to normal, and week 4, again, I'd call this fairly close to normal. Okay, so here are your takeaway points from today's briefing. It looks like a cool snap will start this week, some strong northwest winds, cooler temperatures, but it looks like then it'll be followed by a rebound by the end of the week, and then after that pushes in the warmer air. Looks like below normal rainfall pattern, favorable harvest weather, rest of the month over most areas. Now, if that changes, if I see some change, I'll definitely let you know. But right now, looks like warmer than normal temperatures once we get through this cold snap, and generally speaking, below normal precipitation. So I hope your things are working well with you as we get into this busy time of the year, go through the busy time. I know right around my house, they've already harvested the corn over the last week. A lot of action going on here. It's been very interesting watching that. So I wish you very safe harvest season. I wish you the best weather that we can bring over the next couple weeks. If you have any questions or comments, there's my email. Take care. We'll be talking with you again real soon.